Hello there and welcome to another edition of Ask Ron. One question today, and this comes from Instagram. My Instagram is Ron Harris Muscle. You should all be following that if you're not already. Ron Harris Muscle. So Elliot Reed asked me, do you utilize carbs around your training or eat them all day? I always preface these things by saying it's probably not best to say what I do because we're all slightly different. So when you eat carbs, how many carb meals you have a day is going to depend on two things. Number one, what are your present goals? And number two, what's your metabolism like and how does your body treat carbs? How does it respond to carbs? So first one is, what are your goals? If your goals are to gain mass, and here we are into October, a lot of guys out there, this is your off season. You're going to be trying to put on muscle from now until maybe late spring, and that's when you're going to slim things down, trim it down, get a little leaner, either just for the summer in general, or maybe you're going to compete in the summer or the early fall. So that's when you're going to cut the carbs back. But generally speaking, if you're trying to gain muscle mass, muscular body weight, increase your body weight, which would hopefully be mostly in the form of muscle, not additional body fat, you'd want to have carbs with most, if not all, of your meals. You definitely would always want to have carbs in an off season in the pre-workout meal and the post-workout meal. And I don't care if you're working out at 6 in the morning, noon, 5 p.m., or 11 p.m. It doesn't matter. Your body needs carbs for the workouts. So I do use carbs around my workouts for the most part. You'll never see me really having no carbs before or after a workout, even when I'm in contest prep mode, but we'll get to that later. So if you're trying to gain, you want to have carbs, a complex carb meal before your training, after your training, and how many more meals a day depends on you, because some people have faster and slower metabolisms. Some people respond better or worse to carbs in terms of how much they can eat before they start gaining body fat. If you're someone who is what we traditionally call an ectomorph, on the thinner side, a hard gainer, I don't like that expression, but I just used it. Someone who has a harder time than average adding muscular body weight. And, very few people actually have an easy time. You're probably average. A lot of people out there who are average gainers consider themselves hard gainers because they think it's supposed to happen a lot faster than it actually does. Putting on muscle takes time. For most people, it takes time regardless. But that being said, if you're someone who struggles to gain weight, you eat and eat and eat, and you train your ass off, and you're getting enough sleep, and you still have a very hard time gaining weight, you probably aren't eating enough carbs. And a lot of times this comes out of a fear that they're going to get fat. That's a justifiable fear for a lot of people. A lot of people, if they eat carbs with every single meal of the day, they are going to get fat. There are also a lot of people out there who need to eat carbs with every meal, or else they won't be able to make any gains, and they're not going to get fat. And you don't really know until you try. And you probably have a good sense for this already. But I do find a lot of guys have this fear of getting fat, and they're in the situation where it's not going to happen for them. They have a high metabolism. Their body just burns through it all. So there's no need to worry. But until you try, you won't know. So if you're somebody who's in an off-season mode right now, you're having carbs with your pre-workout meal, maybe some rice, chicken rice, same kind of meal after your workout. I mean, chicken and rice, you can't go wrong. You just can't. Like chicken breast and white rice. It's pretty much the ideal pre-workout meal and post-workout meal. If you're doing that and you're not making any gains and you're just having, protein and vegetables with all your other meals, you probably need to kick up your carb intake. So you would have, maybe from every meal, from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, you need carbs with those meals. So off-season mode, carbs before and after training, and more meals depends on you, depends on what you can tolerate and what you need. And you don't know until you try, and you need to keep records of these things, jot down. I had carbs with my first, second, and third meal today. My fourth and fifth meals had no carbs, not gaining. Add in the fourth meal with carbs. If you're gaining, if you start making gains, good. If your gains stall out again, maybe you need to try adding carbs into that sixth meal. If you have 3 carb meals and you're getting fat, you're gaining more fat than you are muscle, you're probably someone who is slower metabolism side, and you need to cut back and maybe just have pre and post workout meals with carbs. And I don't count the post-workout shake, or if you're having either whey protein isolate or essential amino acids. I would say for most people, unless you're extremely carb sensitive and get fat, you should be having carbs at that point, either a big piece of fruit, or you can mix in some cyclic dextrin powder, or you know what I've been having lately is jelly beans. Kirkland, the brand from Costco, has jelly belly jelly beans. They're delicious. Big, huge jar of them for like 15 bucks. And I have 3 handfuls of those along with whey protein or essential amino acids right after I train. So yes, carbs always before and after workout. Now, if you're in a cutting phase, prep phase, whatever you want to call it, you're trying to lose body fat. Some people can't have carbs at all. There are people who are so carb sensitive that they can't get lean unless they go on a keto type of diet. They have to cut out all the carbs and they're just taking in protein and vegetables. That's it. No carbs. That's the extreme end of the spectrum. Those people tend to be, you know, slower metabolism types, either struggle with obesity or prone to it. You see it, they're heavier, thicker joints. Maybe a lot of people in their family are heavy. A lot of times people like that, they need to go no carbs. That's the extreme end of the spectrum. Just like there are people, even in contest prep phase or cutting phase, they need tons and tons of carbs just to keep their muscle mass while they're dieting. And if the average person ate as much as they did, they would get fat. But like I said, those are extremes. Then you have everyone else in the middle. Probably need a moderate amount of carbs if you're cutting. I still say pre-workout, have your carbs. Post-workout, either a shake or essential aminos, have a little bit simple carbs with that. Then the meal after that, carbs again. Again, if you're having issues losing fat and you're stuck at a point, you may need to cut that carb meal out. You might need to have just one carb meal a day. It's not going to be the same for everybody. Like I said, some people can't have any carbs at all. Some people can get lean with plenty of carbs, and in fact, they need those carbs, or else they, I hate to use this word too, this phrase, flatten out, but they will lose muscle mass. Some people do require a lot more carbohydrates than others. And you know, I should interject into this conversation that fats, healthy fats, are something a lot of people overlook. If you're struggling to gain and you're taking in plenty of protein and clean carbs, the missing piece of the puzzle is probably healthy fats. You probably need to be having, you know, some nuts, eating healthier fats like salmon as a protein source, avocado, almond butter, natural peanut butter, olive oil when you're cooking, extra virgin olive oil. Things like that will add in a lot of good fats and extra calories, which you might need. If you're not gaining, you probably do need them. These are different from saturated fats, so I'm not telling you to go out and eat fried chicken, French fries, things like that. No, that's not it. These are healthy fats. Your body processes them differently. Generally speaking, you can get away with eating these and they're good for you. They're not going to make you fat. Then again, anything in the wrong amounts for the wrong people will get them fat. But when should you eat carbs? Generally speaking, you always want to have them before your workout and after your workout. After that, it becomes individualized. When do you need them? Do you need more carbs? Do you need less carbs? Only way to find out is to try having more carbs, see how that works for you, or less carbs, see how that works. Like I said, if you're in a gaining phase and you're not gaining, don't be afraid to add in some carb meals. Don't worry about what time of the day it is. You worked out at 9 o'clock at night, you get home from the gym after your shake, it's 11:30. Like, oh no, I can't have carbs now because I'm going to go right to bed. You just had a great workout. You want to recover and grow from it. You're not trying to get ripped right now. Have the carbs. Have like a, you know, chicken and potato or white fish and potato. Not a big giant potato. But give your body what it needs when it needs it. And you have to start getting a sense of how your body responds to different amounts at different times. Nobody can tell you that. That's why like prep coaching is such a big business now. It's because you can't just follow one diet for 16 weeks blindly and not make any changes and expect to come in looking at your best. A good prep coach, I know some prep coaches do just give you a diet and take your money and say, see ya. That's a bad prep coach. You need someone who's going to be looking at you and seeing how your body's responding to the different macros and so on, and calorie intake, cardio, and saying, because a lot of times we get in our heads, I'm doing a whole thing on contest prep later. That'll be a whole subject in and of itself. But a lot of people underestimate how many carbs, how much carbs they need to be taking in, and a lot of people overestimate. And a lot of people have no real sense of how that applies. Looking at themselves, they don't really know what's going on. They need an outside eye, a second opinion, someone who can objectively look at them and see what's going on. But we'll get into that later. But for right now, yes, I do utilize carbs around my training. I do recommend that all of you guys do too, because you want to have that glycogen in the muscle. And I know it's not just a pre-workout meal, it's other meals leading up to that. But you definitely want to have a good store of glycogen in your muscles to get a good pump to fuel the muscular contractions. And then you're going to deplete that during the workout. So you want to put it back in after the workout so the muscles can get filled up again with glycogen and recover, grow, do all the things we want them to do. So that's been this edition of Ask Ron. Next time, I think we'll talk about the contest prep. Yeah, we'll see. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel for MD, and I'll talk to you later.